consumers or for any utilization point of view. So in this regard, today I am going to throw a little light on the mitigation of power quality issues in grid connected EV systems. So where comes the grid connected? So we usually locate the power generation units or the generating stations at the remote locations or the remote geographical locations wherein the population is going to be very lesser or the density of population is going to be lesser, so that we can able to construct the integral megawatts of the power stations at the remote locations. So soon after the construction of the power stations or the power generating stations, we are going to transmit the power, generated power, to the highly dense urban areas, so that we are going to utilize it effectively. So in that case, the grid comes into the picture. So the importance of the grid is in order to transport the power from generating station to the consumer end. So we are all aware about the substations and the advantages of the stepping up of the voltage, stepping down of the voltage when it comes to the distribution side, or when it comes to the utilization point of view, we can able to go for the high voltage or for the distribution voltage level. So under this condition, the voltage level is going to get varied depending on the requirement for the utilization. So under such scenario, we are going to process the power with the aid of the transformers or with the aid of the power converters or with the aid of the static or compensators in order to maintain the power factor at all levels from generating station to the distribution end. So when it comes to the electric vehicle, we know the importance of the electric vehicle. So thanks to the Paris Treaty and the followed Kyoto Protocol, the Indian government is a signatory in this Kyoto Protocol. Therefore, we are supposed to follow the norms laid down by the Paris Treaty, and we are committed to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. So what are all the ill effects of gasoline-based IC engines or the automobile industry is that, so from the basics of the conservation of law, the energy can neither be created nor it can be destroyed, but it can be transferred from one form to the another form. So with the basic laid down principle, the energy can be converted from one form to the another form. That is the chemical energy into the mechanical energy when it comes to the when it comes to the utilization of the conventional vehicle. So there comes the emissions, and there comes the carbon dioxide or the carbon monoxide emissions from all the automobile units. So in order to avoid such kind of ill effects, the government of India made a commitment or made a big move towards this implementation of the electric vehicle. So when it comes to the electric vehicle, again, the power generation supposed to be increased in order to cater the need of the requirements of the automobile industry or the automotive industry. So under such scenario, we are all aware about the BEL, BHCL, or the NTPC, or the NLC, or the BPCL, or the ONGC, or the HPCL, or IOCL. So all these companies, once upon a time, they operated only with the conventional system. Either they used to manufacture the heavy engineering products, or they used to generate the power when it comes to the NTPC. When it comes to the again, they are in the business of power generation. That is the mining and in the power generation. And when it comes to the BPCL or ONGC, HPCL or the IOCL, we are all aware about that. These are all the petroleum companies. Either they are into the refinery business or in the distribution business. So in the recent past, in the last decade, there is a huge shift to the business of establishing the charging station, or they are into the business of establishing the solar energy park, or they are into the business of establishing the customer points for selling the electrical vehicle or for the servicing. So by this way, the BHEL located at Trichy is establishing the manufacturing of the passenger vehicle, that is the transport heavy commercial vehicle, that is the passenger bus. And when it comes to the NTPC, they already established around 200 charging stations at metro cities, and mainly at the Mumbai as well as at the Delhi. And when it comes to the Power Grid Corporation of India, once they're into the business of power procuring and the transmission of the power and selling of the power, now they're into the business of the establishing the charging stations, and they are creating the facilities for the EVs. And when it comes to the NLC or the BPCL or the ONGC, again they are into the business of the commercial requirement, they as per the trends available. And almost the BPCL, ONGC, HPCL, and IOCL, they are establishing the charging stations near their fuel outlets in order to promote the utilization of the electrical vehicles. So where comes this need? So as I already mentioned, the Kyoto Protocol is the triggering point wherein the Indian government is a signatory. Therefore, we are supposed to be committed for the reduction of the greenhouse emissions. When it comes to the GDP of any country, again, the petroleum imports affects its GDP. And we used to speak about the currencies. When it comes to the engineering aspect, it is all about the energy. So if the country is prospering with the energy intensity means the GDP can be boosted in a better way. And as per our dreams or the aspirations, we can think about the double-digit GDP growth. So if you take any country like India, the import bill of any of countries like us is around 90%. So that to the petrol. சுத்தமாவே கேட்கலையா? Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon to all. Hope my voice is audible. Okay. So I hope every one of you completed the lunch, and thanks for joining the second session of this 5 days Atal FDP, that is the advancements in electrical vehicle technology, your paradigm shift. Okay. So when it comes to the energy, the primary resource is going to be the petroleum products, and as far as our India is concerned, the 90% of the petroleum products are sourced through the import. So this itself a major concern for any government. And when it comes to the secondary energy sources such as natural gas and the power generation, so the natural gas contributes to the 70% of the home production, that is the in-house production, and we are relying on the 30% of the import. And when it comes to the power generation, completely we are generating our own requirement at our country itself. So 100% is generated by our own government or the private generating stations. So the coal is the main source for the power generation. Again, the generation of the power through thermal power stations will lead the way for the carbon dioxide emission or the greenhouse emissions. So under such scenario, the government of India make a strategic plan such that the major portion of the carbon dioxide emissions are the
मैं इसके रूम में घुस रही थी ना, बोली नहीं भी जगह आने की, फिर मैं बात करती हूँ इसमें.
Yeah, due to the petroleum energy usage, so it is planned to move the conventional vehicle to the electric vehicle. So thereby it came into the existence of the various initiatives taken by the government of India as well as the state governments across the country. So when it comes to the power generation, we can go for the renewable energy sources like wind, wind or the solar or with the aid of the tidal energy. So again, the government of India thought that instead of going for the petroleum-based energy resources, they went for the gas network. Now the gaseous network is expanding across the country. So what for we are doing all such kind of reforms means in order to reduce the foreign exchanges or in order to reduce the trade deficit. So in order to reduce the trade deficit, they are migrating towards EV. Once if EV is introduced means again the power consumption or the power requirement is going to be larger. So under such scenario, the government of India inserted the solar mission under which they have planned to generate the 100 gigawatts of power from the solar power. So with all these inputs, the government of India planning for major years such as 2023 a milestone and 2025 another milestone and 2030 the final milestone. So when it comes to the developed nations like Norway or the German, almost Norway is achieved 100% e-mobility. And when it comes to the German, it is around 30%. And by 2025, they are planning to go for the 100%, all the Nordic countries. So under such scenario, the government of India's initiative gives some results. So as per the statistics available in the market, in January 2021, the total electric vehicle population is 48,776. And the distribution of the vehicles, EVs across the state is the Uttar Pradesh itself contributing to 28%. Next comes the Bihar and the West Bengal. So these three states tops in the implementation of the EVs. So 28%, 11, and the 6% contributes to 45. These top three states are accompanying the 45%, and the remaining states are having the remaining population, that is the 55%. So all these details are available in the website. Which is that is the website name is fame2.heavyindustry.government.india. So in this one, we are having all the details relevant to the electric vehicles under the Department of Heavy Industry. So under there is a mission called as an FAME, that is a National Mission on Electric Mobility. So in this, the total number of electrical vehicles sold as on date is 48,835. The advantage of such implementation is that the number of liters of fuel saved because of the implementation of the FAME policy is that 1,41,38,590 liters of fuel has been saved, and fuel saving per day is 42,686 liters, and the carbon dioxide reduction per day is 97,145 kgs, and the carbon dioxide reduction in kgs is in total, that is since implementation, is 3,21,77,788 kilogram. And the distribution of the vehicles across the state is as shown. So there comes the West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh. So the total number of vehicles available in various states is as shown in the graph. So you can explore this site for further details. So when it comes to the scheme or the policy or the things, you can refer this website. So again, being an academician, we are all aware about the NBA. Like that, the Department of Heavy Industry, they are having a separate entity called as a National Automotive Board, under which you can able to have the details about the EV implementation. So we are all thinking that still it is in the nascent stage. When it comes to the data available in the heavy industries portal, you can see that around 28, 33 OEMs are there, which includes Mahindra and Mahindra, Tata, and many more companies. So these are all the manufacturers. That is the Mahindra Electric Mobility Limited. Already they are into the business and they are having various model for the EV. That is XEV means hybrid electric vehicle model, and the price and the incentives are given as listed. So if you get into this vehicle model, you can see the details, how much incentives they are giving, and the range of the particular vehicle, maximum speed, acceleration, warranty, and electric energy consumption kilowatt per 100 kilometer. So when it comes to the 100 kilometer, the energy consumption is merely 3.41 units. If you are considering the unit rate is 3 rupees, means for this 3.41 approximately you are going to spend 12 rupees alone for completing the 100 kilometers of journey. So likewise, you are having the battery technology, battery capacity, battery density, and the number of cycles where you can able to charge and discharge the batteries. So likewise, for all the given models of the vehicle, which is commercial, which are all commercial available, or which is in the testing stage at the ARAI, that is Automotive Research Association of India, which is located at the Pune, and its testing center is also located at Chennai. And the next comes the Tata. The Tata also, they are having the 7th variant of the vehicle, which is already approved by the Department of Heavy Industry for the deployment. And the next one is the Kinetic Green Energy and Power Solutions, and they are also having 5 variants, which is approved by the heavy industry. And the next one is the Aether Energy Private Limited. There they got approval for the 3 variants. Likewise, Ampere Vehicles, they are into the EV business. Their presence is very strong in the South India, and it is around 4 models. And likewise, we are having the 33 manufacturers, which are all approved by the Department of Heavy Industries under the Government of India. And almost these manufacturers or these vehicles are in the sale at different parts of our country. So likewise, you can explore many things. So many variants and the many details relevant to the EV, which is presently available in the market. So when it comes to the today's topic, that is the mitigation of the power quality issues. So these are all the penetration of the EV into the market, that is the mobility market. Therefore, the mitigation of power quality issues is an important topic when it comes to the present scenario. So when it comes to the charging models, we are having various charging modes. And the first one is the mode 1, wherein we are going to have the AC plug point, from where you are going to have the connector and straight away connected to the electric vehicle. Here we are not going to have any data exchange between the vehicle and the supply utility. And in order to overcome such difficulty, they are going for the mode 2, that is, we are going to have the AC plug point from where we are going to draw the power, which is going to get transferred to the vehicle, that is the EV. And here we are going to establish a communication protocol between the power utility and the electric vehicle. And in the mode 3, we are going to have the same setup similar to that of the mode 2, wherein we are going to have the control unit in the supply side itself. That is going to be the electronics built in, which is going to measure the power energy transfer, the voltage rating, current rating, and the and any data relevant to the EV, which is going to get accumulated in the control panel of the supply. And fourth unit is that we are going to have the converter station at the charging station itself. The available universal power is going to get transferred into DC, then which is going to get transferred to the EV. Here also we are going to establish the communication as well as the control between the vehicle as well as the charging station. So when it comes to the different modes, the power rating also going to get differed. Similarly, the voltage and the current ratings is also going to get differed. So in this case, the first one is of very lesser rating. Comes to the mode 2, the EV is charging at the maximum rating of 10 amperes, and the power rating is going to be 2.4 kilowatt. And comes to the mode 3, again the power rating is going to get increased from 2.4 kilowatt to the 40 kilowatt. And in case of the mode 4, again the power rating is going to get increased from 40 kilowatt to the 150 kilowatt. So again here the communication is established between the vehicle and the power supply point, and the power rating also increased. And comes to the energy density, again the industry is progressing in a big way as far as the battery technology is concerned. Once we started with 80 kilowatt per kg, now it is improved to 20 watt hour per kg. Similarly, the cost effectiveness also increased. So once it is around 400 for 500 euro per kilowatt hour, now it is 200 euro per kilowatt hour. So this is the technology upgradation, wherein we are progressing in all the fronts from energy intensity, that is from storage to the cost effectiveness. So that means the technology is improving at its all dimensions, and we can able to implement, or we can able to commercialize the EV in a big way. So when it comes to the higher rated trucks or the passenger vehicle, the major thing is that energy intensity. So at the early stage, it is around 80 watt hour. Now it is improved to 20 watt hour per kilogram. That is a good sign, wherein the payload of the vehicle is going to get decreased, and the cost effectiveness also achieved a bit. So that is the progress from 1997 to 2025, which is similar to that of the solar panels or the renewable energy sources. So next comes the voltage levels and the durations. Again, when it comes to the charging, the duration also plays a major role, because the user or the passenger can't wait for long time at the particular location for charging. So when it comes to the conventional vehicle, we may take 10 minutes or 15 minutes to refill our tank. Similar way they are expecting, therefore they are having the different voltage levels and the durations. So at level 1, the voltage rating is going to be 120 volts, and it takes the time of 6 to 10 hours. Comes to the level 2, the voltage level is increased up to the maximum of 240 volts, and the charging duration is 1 to 3 hours. So next comes the DC fast charging. Here the voltage rating is 480 volts, and the duration is going to be maximum of 30 volts. So depending on the requirement, we are going to adopt the level 1, level 2, or the level 3. So by that way, we are going to make sense of utilization of the EVs depending on the requirement. So if an official or a passenger is going to charge it during the night hours, means he can opt the level 1. Therein, like our mobile charging, he can go for the charging mode upon sleeping. And in the level 2, again at the highways, we can go for the resting bay, and there you can able to establish the charging stations, wherein the driver or the passenger can park the vehicle, then he or she can take the rest for a small break of 1 to 3 hours, then again he can start resume their or his journey. And when it comes to the DC fast charging, it is similar to that of the refilling of the fuel at the fuel stations, which takes the minimum of 30 minutes, wherein the full capacity of the battery may be charged. And as we already discussed, the power rating versus the duration. So here it is again depending on the power rating of 20 kilowatt or the 50 kilowatt or the 150 kilowatt or the 350 kilowatt or the flash charging, the duration is going to get deferred. So with the available technology, within 7 minutes, we can able to completely charge the vehicle of any rating which is available in the market. So the voltage and the current rating, as I already mentioned, it depends on the type of the manufacturer and the type of the vehicle which is available in the market. We do have the charging stations in terms of the kilo ampere rating. That means the charging electrical EVSE type, that is the electrical vehicle supply equipment is of going to have different types. That is the AC charging station, level 1 residential, and the AC charging station, level 2 commercial, and the DC charging station, that is the level 3 fast chargers. So all these factors predominantly affects the charging time. So which is an important parameter, suppose if you are going for the long travel. So now the research is going on in a big way in the battery as well as in the converter station, such that the entire duration of charging is going to get reduced, such that the passenger or the commuters is going to have the better comfortness. The next one is the AC and DC charging sockets depending on the geographical locations. Again, like other voltage standards or the things, here also depending on the geographical locations, they are going to use the different types of AC and the DC charging sockets. So Japan, they are using the J111772 type. And when it comes to the America, again, they are having different sockets. And Europe or the rest of the world, again, they are having the Menikis type or the type 2. And in the China, they are having the GP or BT type. And when it comes to the DC, Japan is using the CADIMO, and America is using CCS1, and the Europe or the rest of the world is using CCS2. So these are all the types of chargers or the connectors which are all predominantly used for the AC or the DC charging stations. So the DC charging structure is going to be like this as shown in the figure. So we are going to have the two types of charging. One is going to be the private charging and the second one is going to be the public charging. So in the private charging, there is no special regulations. However, Bharat EV specification recommends the installation of RCD and IEC of 60309 industrial connectors. When it comes to the public charging, we are supposed to adhere the standards of Bharat EV standard for both low voltage as well as for the high voltage. That is for again applicable for the AC as well as for the DC. And AC for as far as India is concerned, we are following the standard of B Bharat Electric Vehicle Charging Standard AC 001, wherein it prescribes the various norms for the e-scooters, e-rickshaws, small Mahindra ETO and Mahindra ETO plus vehicle. And when it comes to the DC, we are using the BEVC standard DC 001. Again, the voltage level is going to be 48 voltage, which is again mentioned for the specific power rating. And for BVC DC001, the voltage level is going to be greater than 72. And this makes the difference between the voltage and the duration. And when it comes to the high voltage EVs, the voltage again, which is going to be of two types. One is going to be the AC, another one is going to be the DC. When it comes to the high voltage AC, they are going for the IEC 62196 type 2 standard. Again, here minimum of power rating is going to be 22 kilowatt, whereas the maximum is going to be of 180 kilowatt. And when it comes to the high voltage DC EVs, the standard is CCS or the CADIMO. Again, the power rating is going to be minimum of 50 kilowatt and maximum of 200 kilowatt DC output. And again, which is uniform for all the vehicles as far as the India is concerned. And structure of the DC EV charging station or the charging system is concerned, we are going to have the universal supply system of 3-phase 400 volts across the country. All these standards are specific to the India, and we are going to convert this AC into the DC. Then we are going to convert this DC to the varying voltage or the varying current level. And from that, we are going to charge the electric vehicle. And again, we are going to have the intelligent system, which is going to secure the data as well as the billing details of the energy utilized for the particular duration or the things relevant to the electric vehicle. And when it comes to the data exchange between the utility as well as the vehicle is that we are going to have the separate system, which is called as an battery management system. Probably in the forthcoming sessions, the respective dignitaries is going to deliberate the things. And in the battery management system, they are going to completely take care of the things, the energy stored in the battery, the number of cycles already the battery completed, the minimum SOC and etc. And this data is going to get exchanged between the utility as well as the vehicle, and all these data are going to get logged, is going to get logged for the future usage, similar to that of the conventional vehicle. So this power conversion plays the vital role or the major implications when it comes to the grid connected system, because all these converters is capable of producing or disturbing the voltage waveform as well as the current waveform. There comes the problem of the power quality, which we are going to discuss in detail in the forthcoming slides. And these are all the standards prescribed for the Indian scenario. That is the Bharat EV charging, Bharat EV charging DC. And there we are going to have the DC 001 standard, which is meant for the India. And the input voltage, output kilowatt, number of outputs, the authorization, the EV to EVSC connectivity are as mentioned in the PPT. And next one is the Bharat EV charging standard AC001, which is meant for the AC supply voltage. And again, input voltage is input supply is going to be 3-phase, and three phases are going to carry the maximum of 16 amperes, and the total power rating is going to be 11 kilowatt. Again, the number of outputs is going to be 3. Output simultaneous charging of up to 3 cars of 3.3 kilowatt maximum each. And again, the standard for the socket is IEC 60309, as we already discussed. And the structure of the IEC 60309 socket is as shown. Again, which is going to have the 3 terminals or the 3 lines, wherein we are going to draw the power from all the 3 lines simultaneously. And next comes to the EVSE to CMS connectivity, that is Open Charge Point Protocol, again, which is abbreviated as an OCPP, and the version is 1.5 or above. So these are all the sample connectors available at the charging stations as far as Indian standard is concerned. And the backbone or the skeleton of the charging station is the power electronic converters. So definitely, as we already discussed, we can't imagine a life or the comfort human life without the power electronic system. And if the life we are leading means, which is going to be an miserable one. And when it comes to the transportation, which we are going to mainly rely on the EVs. So The power converters are widely used in the electric vehicles, home appliances, HVDC links, and we are mainly use it for the cell chargers or the PCs or any desktops. And the system components of the converters or the charging station is going to be the input point for the power supply, output point for the power delivery, and the power circuit for the power processing, either for the step up or the step down or for the boosting, and isolation circuit in order to have the safety, and the control circuit of low voltage, which is mainly the controllers or the ICs when for the control of the power electronic circuit, and the feedback system in order to have the data exchange between the system and the utility, and the load, of course, which is going to be an battery. So the typical power EV power electronic interface is going to be like this. We are going to have the power source, then we are going to have the power processor, from where we are going to supply it to the battery, then battery is going to supply it to the motor, and in turn the motor is going to drive the axles, and which is going to be the load. So again, in order to have the better operational flexibility as well as the control, we are going to have the feedback. The feedback is going to fed to the control unit, and we are going to have the preset controls, and depending on the preset controls and the feedback, they are going to generate the signals to the power processor, and accordingly the power processor is going to be operated. So these are all the things. And again, when it comes to the feedback or the control unit or the power processor, which is going to be of non-linear control, and which requires the real-time control, and with the advent of the digital processors, we do have the DSP controllers and the power factor correction. Speed, we are almost using the sensorless type, and the power electronic converters of different types. And almost it's an interdisciplinary, which requires the mechanical knowledge as well as the electrical skill sets or the electronic skill sets. And thereby we are going to acquire the better knowledge for the control and the conversion of the power and the effective utilization. So with the advancements in the control side, we used to convert the analog signals into the digital signal, and thereby we are going to obtain the train of pulses. From the train of pulses, we are going to attain the output, and which is again of analog. So these are all the intermediary stages wherein we are going to have the control of the power processing in terms of the electric vehicle utility. And when it comes to the power quality, so power electronic converters are widely used in the EV infrastructure. Due to the increased usage of the power electronic converters for processing the power quality issues become the hot research topic. And again, with the increase in the population of EVs, the converter stations are going to get increased. So as of now, as mentioned in the previous session, the number of charging stations is around 1,500, and which is of going to reach lakhs and lakhs of charging stations. Again, all the charging stations are going to have the power processing unit, which is nothing but the power electronic converters. So when it comes to the power electronic converters, the power quality issues are going to be there. And again, which is of research importance. And when it comes to the definition of the power quality, it's a term that embraces all aspects associated with the amplitude, phase, and frequency of the voltage and current waveforms existing in the power circuit. So again, they're adhering to the IEEE standard, that is the 1100, which define the power quality as the aspect of powering and grounding the components in a manner suitable for the required application or the equipment. So when it comes So when there is a requirement for the precise application, we are not bothering about the quantity. We do bother about the quality. So there comes the power quality issues or the mitigation of the power quality problems. Why we are relying on the power quality problem means when a converter station is operating in parallel with the sensitive load means these converter stations used to generate the harmonics or which is going to disturb the voltage or the current waveform in a greater way such that the quality of the waveforms are going to get distorted and which is going to affect the nearby system by means of the EMI or by means of the distortions. So such kind of equipments need to be protected or the harmonics generated need to be mitigated. So for both the things, we need to analyze the power quality. So again, if we are not contain it at the generation point, which is going to get transmitted through the transmission line, and from where we are going to have the problem with all the grid connected systems. Again, which may malfunction the circuit breakers or the relays, and in turn, which may result into the brownout or the blackout of the grid or the electrical networks. So from generation via transmission to distribution, this power quality plays an important role. So it is going to originate from the sensitive load or at the converter station, then which is going to reach the larger transmission network via the distribution network, and from there which is going to reach the national grid, from there which is going to affect the entire nation and which may result in the blackout or the brownout. So what are all the things we are going to consider as an power quality issues means the harmonic currents and the voltages, voltage dips due to the various factor, the unequal phase displacements, excessive neutral to earth voltage, low power factor, and the reactive power flow across the network. So when it comes to the harmonics, which is going to be the composition of a periodical signal, so we do have the harmonic component as well as the fundamental component. So as far as the Indian system is concerned, we are going to operate at the frequency of 50 Hertz. Any frequency other than that of the 50 Hertz is going to be considered as an harmonics. Hence, the 50 Hertz is going to be considered as an fundamental component H1, and the sinusoidal components with frequencies that are whole multiples of the fundamentals are called the harmonics. So, for example, if you are considering the third order harmonic spins, which is going to have the 150 hertz, and if it is going to be the fifth order means which is going to have the 250 hertz. So that is the thing which is going to affect the operation of the entire components from distribution side to the larger power grid networks. So if it is going to have the DC components means the DC components are going to get nullified. So the even order harmonics are going to get nullified due to the Fourier series effect. The even order harmonics are going to get nullified. The odd order harmonics only injurious to the system, but to the lower order harmonics. So the order of harmonics is the integer defining its frequency as multiple of the fundamental frequency. So as I already mentioned, if it is going to be a fifth order harmonics, which is going to have the frequency of 250 Hz, and if it is going to be the third order harmonics, we are going to have the frequency of 150 Hz. And when it comes to the spectrum, that is the harmonic spectrum, the spectrum of a signal is the graph representing the amplitudes of various harmonics as a function of their respective frequencies. So these harmonics and the spectrum plays an important role in the measurement of the power quality or the standards prescribed for the power quality. And the waveforms of an three-phase system is going to be like this as shown in the figure, which is going to have the sinusoidal pattern or the sinusoidal shape, and which is going to have the 120-degree phase displacement among the phases. So if it obeys the sinusoidal pattern, and the displacement is going to have the 120 degree, means we are going to call it as an pure sinusoidal waveform of 3-phase. And if any other frequencies than that of the fundamental frequency as far as India is concerned, which is 50 hertz. So in the second one, the R phase is going to be there. Simultaneously, we are going to have the harmonics for the R phase, which is of the third order harmonic. How we are describing it as third order harmonics means the fundamental component is going to pass the single cycle, whereas the harmonic component or the unwanted signal is going to pass the 3 cycles, therefore which is called as an third order harmonic. Similarly for the Y phase and for the B phase, and our main objective is that either we should elevate the thing at the generating point itself or at the local distribution panel itself. If you are carrying it beyond the local distribution panel, means again which is going to affect the performance of the transmission line, that is the distribution line, then which is going to affect the distribution transformer, and then which is going to affect the substation, then the associated protective components. And the ill effects of the harmonics are as listed. The first one is the distortion of the voltage, that is the malfunction of which results in the malfunctions of the sensitive electronic equipment, excessive temperature rise in the motors, the noise, that means which is the motor is not going to have the smooth operation, then which is going to pave the way for accelerated aging of the equipment, which includes the cables, fuse units, or the MCBs, or the associated protective equipment. And it may require the oversizing of the sources, which includes the UPS, generators, capacitors, cables, and the associated components. And again, the harmonics may result in the flow of current in the neutral conductor, and consequently, the earth to neutral voltage increases. So as far as the IEEE standards are concerned, the earth to neutral voltage is in between 5 to 10 volts. If it exceeds the 10 volts, means again there leads to the overheating, and it may result in the fire hazards. And the excessive temperature rise in the transformers, if we are not eliminating the harmonic components at the generating stage, that is the at converter station itself, it will get transmitted to the transformer, that is the distribution transformer, and again this unwanted frequency is going to increase the iron losses, thereby which increases the operating temperature or the temperature of the transformers. And as I already mentioned, it may lead to the false tripping of the circuit breaker also, and it's of higher potential. And risk of resonance, and due to the presence of unwanted frequencies, the LNC components present in the transmission network may result in the resonance, and thereby the current amplification will occur, or which results in the voltage amplification, which are all extremely dangerous for the operating equipment as well as for the operating personnel. So this is the animation which gives the ill effects or the need to be the requirement of the EMC limit and the need to eliminate the things. So if we are prescribing the EMC limit, and the voltage or the current distortion is going to be lesser than that of the prescribed limit, means it won't give any problem. So the graph represented in green color is going to be the previous one, and if we are measuring the things of the harmonics which is less that of the given limit, means it is not going to give any problem. And if it is greater than that of the EMC limit, means definitely we are supposed to go for the prevention, and which is going to affect the sensitive load, again which is going to be a dangerous thing. And in this case, we are going to have the real-time problem. The EMC limit is already set, whereas the measured values are going to exceed the prescribed EMC limit, and thereby we are supposed to go for the solution. We are supposed to find out the remedial measures such that we are going to maintain the distortions within the prescribed limit. We are not doing the remedial actions or going for the remedial things means, again, which is going to have the cumulative effect and which is injurious to the electrical network. And the THD levels, that is the total harmonic distortion levels as far as the existing level, as far as the existing converters are as listed. And for adjustable speed rise, which is of 44%, the rectifier or charging stations of having the 28%, the data processing load, that is the SMPS or the UPS, which is of 115%, that is 115%, and the fluorescent light fittings are capable of emitting the 53% of the total harmonic distortions. So as far as the IEEE standards are concerned, both voltage as well as the current THD level should be less than that of the 5%. So imagine the problem raised because of these THD levels of the various converters. So as I already mentioned, the IEEE are the pioneers with respect to the standards. And when it comes to the power quality, they do have the standards of different versions. The IEEE 519/1992 prescribed the norms for the power conditioner or the inverter operations. The IEEE 1459/2000 prescribes the standards for power factor and the reactive power compensation. And the IEEE standard 487/1992 describes the standards for the wireline telecommunication facilities. And the IEEE standard 1159/1995 prescribes the standards for the EMC. And in addition to the IEEE standards, various other standards related to the power quality are IEC, European Conformity, Underwriters Laboratory, CISPR for European countries. All these things are the standards relevant to the power quality. So as we already discussed, these standards do have the amendments at the various years, and this 1992 refers to the first release of the particular standard. Similarly, for other standards also. So power conditioner or inverter operations means again, which is of major component in the EV charging station, and the power factor and the reactive power compensation. Wherever we are using the power electronic component, we are supposed to consider about the power factor and the reactive power compensation. And for communication protocol, we do follow the standard. And for the EMC compatibility of the EVs or the power converters, either at the charging end or at the vehicle end, we are supposed to go for the standard also. So as far as the harmonics are concerned, the fundamental component is going to be the 50, third order is 150, and the fifth order is 250, seventh order is 350, and the ninth order is 450. When it comes to the application or the grid related issues, we are bothering about the lower order harmonics, that is the third order, fifth order, and the seventh order. So the higher order harmonic can be easily eliminated either with the digital filters or with the analog filters. So the lower order harmonics, if you are going for the design of filters, means the size of LNC components are going to be larger. Therefore, at the design of the control algorithm for the converters or the switching algorithm for the converters itself, we will go for the elimination of the third order component, the fifth order component, and the seventh order component. So likewise, we can extend or measure the harmonics up to the 63rd order harmonic component with the available equipment or the instrument. So the effects of harmonic sequences are shown. The positive sequence components, which is going to have the forward rotation, and which results in the ill effects of heating of conductors, circuit breakers, etc. And the negative sequence component reverse heating of the conductors, circuit breakers, and etc. Plus the motor problems, as I already mentioned. We are going to have the vibrations of the motors and the noises. And the zero sequence component is not going to have any forward or the reverse rotation, whereas which is going to have the addition of the neutral of three-phase or the four-way system, that is, which is going to have the rise in the potential. So next one is the need for harmonic elimination. If you are not eliminating the harmonic at the generating point itself, which is going to give away the problem for the non-linear loads, and which is going to affect the system which are all connected in parallel with the charging stations or the converter stations. So development in digital electronics, the communications and the process control have increased number of sensitive loads. The sensitive loads require ideal sinusoidal supply voltages for the proper operation. The example is the medical equipment, which requires the pure sinusoidal component for their proper functioning. There is any distorted waveforms in terms of the current or the voltage, means it will malfunction. So we need to provide the pure sinusoidal voltage for the sensitive equipment. So in order to provide the safe, clean and green power, it is necessary to reduce the impact of these harmonics. So definitely any power utility company, it's their duty to provide the required voltage at the required point with the good power factor as well as the stability of the voltage. There should not be any deviation with the prescribed terminal voltage or the power factor. So the reason for the power quality problems are that non-linear loads. So when it comes to the earlier stages, the 70% of the power consumed is going to be the induction motors, and we used to call this induction motor as an workhorse of the industries. And we mainly utilize the power for heating and for the lighting purpose. So in the recent times, the penetration of the non-linear loads such as computers, adjustable speed drives, EV charging stations, halogen light fixers, or the advanced luminous are the issues wherein these non-linear loads plays an important role in the generation of the harmonics. And the current is pulse shaped, which results in the harmonics. That means the voltage and the currents are disturbed or distorted at any point of time for the advantage of the control. That means we are going to switch on or switch off the power electronic switches in between the rise of the voltage or the drop of the voltage. That means in the sinusoidal wave, we are going to switch on or switch off the power electronic component at any instant. If the voltage is at the maximum point, that is at the 90-degree, and we are breaking the voltage at that particular point, means the distortion is going to be larger, similar to that of the inverse current in case of the transformers. So which which are all the creators of the disturbances, and equipment has become more sensitive, and because of this we are supposed to mitigate the power quality issues. And in case of the penetration of the renewable energy sources, the solar energy harnessing or the wind energy harnessing, we are relying on the power converters or the static power compensators. Again, we are going to have the abrupt switching and switching on and switching off of the power electronic devices, which are all the main potential sources for the disturbances. So in the deregulated energy market, again, the penetration of the converters are going to be major, and again, it's a major concern for the utilities. And when it comes to the first disturbance, which is of sag, and sag means the deviation in the voltage and the dip, the starting of heavy loads, that means the large motors or the EV converter stations of larger capacity, means we are going to encounter the sag at the distribution network. And brownouts means, again, if we are not containing the ill effects of the harmonics at the starting point or at the converter station, again, which is going to lead to the brownouts. And fault clearing times of distribution feeders from 5 to 15 cycles, again, it's a major concern if you are relying on the quality power. And typically the SAGs ranges from 20 to 50% depending on the particular distribution network. And the effects of the sags are as listed. The voltage sags are not perceptible to human eye and which creates an irritation. And a sensitive electronic equipment affected by the voltage sags. Sags interrupt service to loads such as automated processes for many hours and results in the loss of revenue of millions of dollars or the rupees if it is going to be an manufacturing industry. So these are all the ill effects of the voltage sags. And sags need compensation devices to avoid the interruption, need to evaluate the role of protective devices, that is reclosings after a fall, operating speed of circuit breakers, fuses and reclosers, need to analyze cause for faults, that is the tree falling or the multiple reclosing may be questionable from power quality perspective, and adopt optimum policies. And when it comes to the major problem, that is the distortion of the waveforms, it is the reflection, the waveforms are the reflection of the quality of the supply. If we are going to have the pure sinusoidal waveform means the and thereby the waveform shape is going to be going to occur the sinusoidal pattern. And the waveform to be verified whenever we do new installations of converters or any renewable energy sources, and we need to have the modifications, and also we need to have the periodical verifications. And by this way we can able to ensure the proper quality of the waveform, and the quality of the waveform is going to be better means we are going to have the reduced power quality issues. And the next one is the reactive power flow, and we are all aware of that. Whenever we are going for the power electronic converters or the power electronic switches, the requirement for the reactive power is going to be higher, and in turn which is going to decrease the power factor. We know that the power factor is defined as a ratio of real power to the apparent power. So by that way, if the things kVA demand is going to get increased means you are going to result in the lower power factor or the reduced power factor. And this reactive power flow is going to overload the transformers, cables and the switch gears. Thereby we are supposed the increased energy consumption due to the higher losses because of the unwanted frequencies. The power losses are going to be higher, and which increases the losses also. And if the power factor is going to be lesser means you are going to have the penalty, and the as far as the central electricity regulations are concerned, for a lower power factor we are going to have the penalty, and which is going to have the implications of the financial operation of the company or the organization. And because of the lower power factor we are going to lose the financial incentives, and which is often given to the higher power factor operation. And the next problem is the neutral to ground potential rise. And wherever we are installing or we are going for the installation of the new charging stations, the power electronic components are going to get penetrated, therefore which is going to result in the higher neutral current. And if the current neutral current is going to get increased means we are going to have the overheating of the neutral conductors, thereby we are going to have the increased energy consumption, and we do have the risk of fire and the destruction. And in larger establishments of data centers or the textile manufacturing units and etc., we often facing the fire hazards or the fire accidents because of this problem. That is the high neutral current or the neutral to earth potential rise. And because of this, the companies or the manufacturing units do have the loss in terms of the crores or the huge quantum. And the next one is the elimination of the harmonics. The first one is the harmonic filters. And in the harmonic filters, we are having the active type, passive type, and the hybrid type. In case of the passive type, there is no limits in the harmonic current. We can design it for any rating. One filter for one or two orders. That is the for a but it is of frequency dependent, and a compensation of reactive power is required. And in case of the active harmonic filters, we are having the local filtering, and it's self-adaptable. Network modification has no effect, and again, which is of wide frequency band. And hybrid means which is going to have the combination of the advantages of both active as well as the passive. And the benefits of the power quality management of the grid connected system are improved reliability of all the installations connected with it, reduced energy consumption in general, and reduced fuel consumption, the total power generation to the utilization, better productivity, and the improved proximity and the enhanced equipment life. So the profitability of the company is going to get increased. The equipment life is also improved because of the rated operation. So why this power quality disturbance to be analyzed means the cost related to a power quality disturbance is going to be very higher, which is, I think some of the participants are not muted. Ravi sir.
Sir?
No, ma'am, I muted Tukaram. Somebody is unmuted their mic.
Okay, sir.
The power quality disturbances need to be analyzed because the cost related to the power quality disturbance is going to be at large. The direct cost is it results in the direct cost or the indirect cost or the non-material inconvenience. So all these are all the ill effects, which is going to have the higher impact on the system as well as on the financial aspects. And when it comes to the direct cost, the cost that can be directly attributable to the disturbance, which may be of the production loss or which may be of the wages or the salaries. And sometimes it may result in the shutdown of the unit or the shutdown of the system, again, which is going to be a directly profit or which is going to directly affect the income of the particular unit. So in order to avoid the losses or the increase the profitability, we are supposed to monitor the data related to the power quality continuously. Then we are supposed to analyze it, and depending on the set limit of the EMC or the power quality standards, we need to improve it. Then only we can able to achieve the reliable power supply either at the consumer end or at the utility end. And at any cost, it should not be carried out to the electrical distribution network, and it should not affect the loads which are connected in parallel. So the harmonics elimination techniques are the effective methods to eliminate the harmonics problems are we are going to rely on the filters. First one is the series connected filters, and the second one is the sun connected filters. And in case of the series connected filters, the filters are connected in series with the power system network and offer very high impedance at the tuning frequency, and which is going to filter out the unwanted noise or the frequencies. In case of the sun connected filters, which is commonly used to filter in the AC power system network, which is connected in parallelly, offers very low impedance path to the harmonics, thereby which is going to eliminate the unwanted signals or the unwanted frequencies. And the third one is the harmonic or the phase cancellation. And in the harmonic or the phase cancellation, we are going to generate the signal in just opposite to that of the harmonic signal. Thereby, both the signals are going to get nullified each other, and the net effect is going to be 0. So the effect or the harmonics generated at the converter station is going to nullify at the particular point itself to get carry forwarded either to the network or to the system. And the last one is the use of isolation transformer. And here, with the aid of the isolation transformer, we can able to eliminate the third order, ninth order, and the 15th order harmonics specifically. And use of power conditioners, sun connected conditioners, the series connected conditioners, or the series and sun connected power conditioners. So these power conditioners are going to give the a negative impact for the generated harmonics, or which is going to generate the negative signal, and thereby which is going to take care of the harmonics as well as the reactive power compensation. And the active active harmonic conditioner is as shown in the figure. So the power source is going to be there, which is going to feed the nonlinear load, and this active harmonic conditioner is going to inject the I conditioner, which is just in opposite to that of the effect created by the nonlinear load. And the pictorial representation is as shown. So we are going to have the source, which is going to always apply the pure sinusoidal waveform. And because of the load, which is going to get non-linear, that is the non-sinusoidal component, and which is going to be the RCD type. And due to this one, we are going to have the effect in the fundamental component. So this fundamental component is going to get added with the nonlinear load, and you are going to have the harmonics as shown. That is the I conditioner. So this I conditioner is going to get injected into the system such that the net effect on the source is going to be nullified. So this is going to be the pictorial, the simulation representation. So the THDI is going to get injected from the system, that is from the nonlinear load, which is going to affect the sinusoidal component. So this is going to be the conditioner unit. So I conditioner is going to get added or injected into the system. Thereby the current run from the load is going to be sinusoidal. So if every load connected to the system is going to draw the pure sinusoidal component, or which is going to which is not going to affect the system voltage waveform or the current waveform, means the system voltage is going to be system current or the voltage shape is going to be maintained as pure sinusoidal one. Thereby we are going to have the increased efficiency as well as the better operation. So next comes to the supply frequency stability. We all are aware of that all the grids are interconnected with the supply frequency. If there is any deviation in the supply frequency, means the particular grid is going to get disconnected or isolated from the national grid. So again, the concern is that small generators are the source or the main issue generators. So if there is any deviation in the frequency, means the particular grid is going to get isolated. Thereby the problem is going to get rectified at the origin itself. And next comes the transients. Again, this is the important power quality issues. Whenever we are going for the switching of any loads or switching of the transmission networks or the distribution network, we do have the transients. That is mainly due to the capacitance effect, capacitance presence all along the way of the transmission line. Again, which is going to be a very momentary phenomenon, but sometimes which is going to affect the larger networks in a big way due to this higher voltage or the higher current. And next comes the unbalance in the three-phase supply system. And for example, if the phases or the three-phase supply system is rated for 415 volts means, or 430 volts means, all the phases must have all the phases must have the defined voltages. So all the phases must have the 415 or the 430. So for example, in the given condition, the difference between A and B, A to B is line to line voltage is 475, and A to C, that is line A and line C is 471, and line C to B is 460. So the A and B and A and C lines are having the almost nearest voltages, whereas C to B is having the 460 voltage. So when it comes to the average of these three voltages, which is almost equal to 469. Again, the difference is going to be of 9 volts when it comes to the C to B. So 9 voltage of the average is going to be 1.9 percentage, again, which is of higher limit. So again, this will affect the system performance when we are going for the three-phase system. So when it comes to the pictorial representation, the A phase, B phase are going to have the waveform like this, whereas the C phase is going to have the waveform of reduced magnitude. So therefore, the unbalance is going to be there. And as far as the standards for the unbalance prescribed by IEC as well as the IEEE, which is of 1 to 2 volts, and again it depends on the geographical location. And unbalance are mostly resulted due to the prominent single phase loads, and again, which is the case in case of the domestic consumers. Lighting loads are often only used in the evening hours or at the peak hours. And if the particular line or the distribution system is exposed to the two-phase welding machines, that is the more number of welding machines means we do have the unbalance. And in case of the motor loads, that is the three-phase means it's of no issues because it's already a three-phase balance load. And voltage, ill effects of the voltage unbalance is that voltage unbalance can cause three-phase motors and the three-phase loads to experience the poor performance or the premature failure because of the following. We are aware that suppose if the balance loads are there, then we are supposed to maintain the correct voltage across the phases. Else the particular phase which is experiencing the lesser voltage may draw the higher current. And because of the higher current, the I square R losses in the particular terminals or the particular coil is going to get increased. Once the losses increase means the operating temperature of the particular set of the coil is going to get increased. The coil winding temperature is increased means which is going to be an cumulative effect, again which is going to offer the higher resistance, again which is going to draw the higher current, and the losses are going to be more. Thereby at particular point of operation, the machine is going to operated beyond the ambient temperature, and due to the continuous operation the machine may get failed. And this is the case for any component. It may be for the electrical motor or for the power electronic component or for the system. And voltage unbalance, we can able to check at the input to the motors, the variable frequency drives, charging stations are at the UPS. And as far as the EN 50160 power quality standards are concerned, it should be less than 2%. And as NEMA specifications, it is less than 5% for the motor loads. And for the specific range of the voltage unbalance, we are supposed to refer the particular manuals of the equipment or the devices. And the transformer derating is going to occur with respect to the deviation in the voltage. And the transformer derating curve, or as prescribed by the IEEE 1101992, The transformer with 60% of its load as AC to DC converters should be derated by 50%. For example, if the transformer is rated for 100 kVA, the connected loads are going to be majority of converters. That is maximum of 50 kVA of converters means, again, the derating of the transformer will be there. That is 60% of the rated capacity is going to get derated. That means the 100 kVA transformer is capable of supplying the 40 kVA loads only. So again, this is the major concern if we are not bothering about the power quality issues or the ill effects of the switching of the power electronic components. And the harmonics and the spectrum analysis are as shown. And in case of the harmonics, the waveforms are going to get distorted. And in case of the other ill effects, the voltage, current, and the power are going to be distorted, and the power is going to get increased. The current waveform is going to get distorted. And while going for the measurement, we are going to have the bar chart, which is going to represent the level of the THD as well as the fundamental component. And this is the wave. This is the Fluke power harmonic analysis screenshot, which gives the crest factor, the factor which determine the wave shape. And we are all aware about the power factor, and this is the power diagram, which gives the relationship between the real power, reactive power, and the apparent power. And for any given condition, we are supposed to maintain the power factor at 0.99 or at the that is the utmost unity. And when it comes to the smart transmission grids, in order to have the better control over the grid connected system or on the power utility, the power ministry is initiating the smart transmission grids. That is the online stability analysis and defense plan is there. Online asset management is there. Smart power electronic control is there. That means the entire power distribution as well as the generation is going to get monitored with the set standard for the power quality and other norms. Thereby, the transmission networks are going to become smarter because of the IoT and other things which are all happening in the last few years. And when it comes to the smart distribution grids, the government is inciting about the automatic meter management, integrated distributed management system, where means the isolated generators are going to get benefit out of this system. That means whenever they are having the excess power, they can able to export it to the grid, and it can be monitored centrally at the load dispatch centers or at the central team of the particular state utilities. And renewable and load management integration, wherever possible, we can go for the renewable power generation also, and thereby we can go for the better utilization of the renewable energy sources. And again, they're introducing the smart substation concept, wherein the operating personals will not be there. The complete operation is going to be automated, both protection as well as the recloser or the re-energizing of the electric network is going to taken care by the automated system. And again, it's an upcoming thing. And these are all the few references which I may referred for the presentation. In order to have the better insight or the in detailed knowledge for the research or for the things, you can refer these books. And almost the time is 3:30. If there is any queries, we will discuss. Now the forum is open for the discussion. Or else you can text in the chat box.
Participants, if you have any queries. So there are 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please help me with the effect of harmonics? From Akash Mohan.
Akash Moganan. So actually, it's a wide area when it comes to the effect of harmonics. And as I listed, you can refer the text which I mentioned. The thing is that on one side we can able to mitigate the harmonics, on the other side we can able to ground it at the particular generation at the origin point itself. I think it's a wider area. You can refer any of the IEEE transactions related to the power electronics so that you can get the good insights. And the next question is the Nagaraju Kantasala. Yeah, what are the research opportunities to do research in power quality in microgrid with EVs? Yeah. So when it comes to the power quality, you can refer the Central Power Research Institute, which is located at, which is headquartered at Bangalore. They do have the peripheral centers at Bhopal, Jammu Kashmir, I think in some other parts of our country. So there they are having the standards as well as the research laboratories, especially meant for the power quality with respect to the microgrid, as well as they are the another nodal agency for setting the standards for EV electrical vehicles. So you can refer the RI, that is the Automotive Research Association of India, located at the Pune and Chennai, or the CPRI, wherein you can get the good inputs for both for power quality as well as for the microgrids.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I think it's we completed on time.
Yes, sir. My heartfelt thanks to our resource person, Dr. V. Kumar Chennaiyan, for throwing light on various topics like energy density, charging modes, present scenario of EVs, charging structure, reactive power flow, power interface, and so on. Thank you so much, sir. I also thank all the participants for your participation. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thanks for the opportunity.